seen you guys for a while. Am I on? Hello? I don't think it's on. Am I on? Oh, yes, now I am. Okay. All right. So we got a small group today. Where's your brother? Oh, not coming? Okay, that's fine. Okay. Well, Happy New Year, everybody. All 5 or 6 of you. Do any of you sometimes complain about anything? You do. You're the only one? Anybody else? You do, Elliot? What about you, Charlie? Yeah. Mia never complains. Never. Okay, well, let's see if there's a particularly popular complaint. Put your hand up if you've ever said this. Oh, it's not fair. He started it. Whatever your brother is. Does anybody ever say that? No. Oh, Mila does. Okay. With help from her dad. What about this one? I don't want to clean my room. You? Okay, Charlie. Okay. All right, then. What about this one? I hate vegetables. Why do I have to eat them? Oh, Elliot doesn't like vegetables. Oh, cooked in butter? You like them? All right, well, even some adults don't like vegetables. I think they're a little cuckoo, but, that's another story. Anyway, we all complain from some time to time, and some of us can be pretty good at it. And you know what? The Bible has a lot to say, a lot of things. It also has something to say about complaining. In Philippians 2, which is around this part of the Bible, towards the end, it says, do everything without complaining or arguing. And Paul goes on, and then you will shine like stars in the sky. I like the sound of that. But it's really hard not to complain, isn't it? Do you think? Yeah. So what should we do? We won't read the Bible right now. We're going to listen. Maybe we could count to 10 and think before we turn up our nose at this beautiful piece of broccoli, do you think? We could think for a second. Well, Mom says it's good for me. Maybe it would make me stronger or smarter. One piece of broccoli might not make a difference. Well, you have to start with something, right? So anyway, maybe you could think about those things. Oh, Mila wants to eat it. And then you might agree to try it. What else can we do? We heard just now that Paul said we shouldn't grumble or complain. He also said in another book in the Bible, Ephesians, and always be thankful for everything. Well, there's an idea. Ding. Perhaps next time you're asked to clean your bedroom, you could decide to be thankful for a warm place to sleep and a comfy pillow. And then you could say, okay, Mum or Dad, here's a plan that could help. When we feel a grumble kind of welling up inside us, because it kind of grumbles up inside and then comes out of our mouth, we could quietly say 2 thank yous to God. One, that he loves us. And 2, we could say thank you for broccoli. Whoops. Or for bedrooms, or for brothers or sisters, or that you're strong enough to put the garbage out. Whatever you think you might want to complain about, we can usually find a thank you for it. I think I'm going to try it. What do you think? Would anybody try to do that plan as well? Well, you can try the broccoli if you want. But how about being thankful, things that we fear we might be going to complain about? I'm not getting any takers. Any adults? Okay, good. Sorry, Terry, if I'm stealing a bit of your thunder here. He's going to be continuing this theme. Anyway, so that's great. We'll say a prayer for all of us. Thank you, God, a million times for all the good things we have to enjoy. parents who love us, warm homes, good food, even broccoli. Please help us all to enjoy being thankful more than complaining and grumbling. Amen.
Amen.
Now, this small group of children are going to go downstairs, and if there are any children in nursery, I imagine there's a nursery. Yes? Yes? That's nodding her head.
Thank you, Anna. As the children go downstairs, we'll look into a word this morning, as Anna's already clued you in on the topic. If you want to look in your Bible, it'll be Numbers chapter 11. So when you're looking for inspiration or a solution to a problem, where's the best place to make that happen? Some of you might say, well, I get my inspiration in the shower, sitting on a can, or going for a walk on a scenic trail. And my place of inspiration for the message this morning came rather unexpectedly while laying in bed. And I was planning to go with my original sermon series on recognizing the voice of God, because I got 5 more already, just to warm up, right? But I thought, well, in case God has other plans, I should check in and say, unless you have you want to change the sermon, that's fine. But so I'm laying in bed, and I'm not sure if God was telling me this, but this is what happened. So I woke up as usual, and the thermostat, as usual, is turned down to 16, and the waiting washroom is cold, and my bed felt so cozy. And I said, why would anybody in their right mind get out of this warm bed and freeze to death in my own house? And then after I go to the washroom, then I have to go outside, shovel the deck, shovel the walk, shovel the pad, and then plow the snow on the long driveway. I was going to take an hour probably and scoop the cat poop and rake snow off the roof and drag the garbage dumpsters out to the road. And furthermore, it's another bad weather snow day. And then it hit me. I'm asking God what to preach on, and here I am, I'm laying in bed and ruining my day before it started. So I don't know if this was from God or not, but the realization that struck me that maybe I should preach at myself this morning, as complaining and grumbling is a personal flaw I'm trying to reduce. So if you get nothing from the sermon, at least I'm going to get something from the message this morning, and it's going to be good for me. And I find it interesting that every October, we have the usual sermon or pep talk on why you should give God thanks. And, and then once that weekend's over, then we move on from Thanksgiving to go back to the usual pattern of stinking, thinking, and whining. So I slipped that in. It's really me. It's me. That's what I do. I come back and I say, no, I don't have to be thankful too much for another year. It's kind of unconscious. Anyways, I thought, well, I want to justify myself, say at this time of the year, I should be allowed to do more grumbling or complaining through the dark winter months, because we have more than the usual excuses for complaining. The cold weather, treacherous roads, snow day inconveniences, problems with vehicles that don't start, snow blowers that don't work, and heating systems that act up, more post-Christmas bills to pay, and less hours of sunlight, and more domestic tension and violence. And not only that, all that negative stuff, but there's no opportunity for all the fun things. No more motorbiking, swimming, golfing, biking, hiking, gardening. So like in short, I feel a little bit cooped up and bored in the winter, and probably do more complaining. I don't know about any of you. But surely these bad circumstances should be reason enough for me to, maybe God cut me a little slack. I'm rationalizing. But then the Bible tells me to be thankful in all things. There's no footnote. I'm looking for the fine print at the bottom. It says exemption for those living in cold climates. But maybe a new translation will come out that will add that point, but I rather doubt it. In the meantime, I don't take much comfort in the fact that ingratitude and grumbling is a human vice which goes back to the Garden of Eden and the people of God in the wilderness. But just to illustrate, we will read one of those incidents, one of many, where complaining seems to be the corporate order of the day. So this is just one example. And these guys, you'll notice something in this example here. Numbers 11, beginning at verse 1. It's the people of God who start out whining, belly aching, and carrying on. And then it spreads to the foreigners who are traveling with them, and they start whining. And then it spreads to the leader, Moses. This is like we're in the season of viruses. That's what complaining is. It's a very contagious bug. Okay, so I don't know if you can follow along up here or not, but soon the people began to complain about their hardship, and the Lord heard everything they said. Then the Lord's anger blazed against them, and he sent a fire to rage against them, and he destroyed some of the people on the outskirts of the camp. Then the people screamed to Moses for help, and when he prayed to the Lord, the fire stopped. After that, the area was known as Taberah, which means the place of burning, because the fire from the Lord had burned among them there. Then the foreign rabble who were traveling with the Israelites began to crave the good things of Egypt. And the people of Israel also began to complain. Oh, for some meat, they explained. We remember the fish we used to eat for free in Egypt. And we had cucumbers, melons, leeks, onions, and garlic. All we wanted. Now our appetites are gone. All we ever see is manna. The manna looked like small coriander seeds and was pale yellow like a gum resin. People would go out and gather it from the ground. They made flour by grinding it with hand mills or pounding it into mortars. Then they'd boil it in a pot and made it into flat cakes. These cakes tasted like pastry baked with olive oil. The manna came down on the camp with the dew during the night. Moses heard all the family standing in the doorways of their tent whining, and the Lord became extremely angry. Moses was also very aggravated. And Moses said to the Lord, "Why are you treating me, your servant, so harshly? Have mercy on me. What did I do to deserve the burden of all these people? Did I give birth to them? Did I bring them into the world? Why do you tell me to carry them in my arms like a mother carries a nursing baby? How can I carry them to the land you swore to give to their ancestors? And where am I supposed to get meat for all these people? They keep whining to me, saying, 'Give us meat to eat.' I can't carry all these people by myself. The load is far too heavy. If this is how you intend to treat me, just go ahead and kill me. Do me a favor and spare me this misery." Whoa. He's not in a very good mood. God is not in a good mood. Nobody's happy. Well, that's the passage, is just one of 15 where they have this kind of pattern repeat, and they just go on, and God gets mad at them. So you'll find that God's reaction, if you read on in that chapter, he forgave the people for their complaining, but he banned the entire generation from entering the promised land, except for the families of Caleb and Joshua. So it's clear from the other instances of murmuring, muttering, and grumbling that God gets very upset and angry with his chosen people belly aching all the time, despite all that he's done for them. And of course, we're the chosen people of God today. It occurred to me that perhaps a whiny disposition could be in their DNA, since these people are all descendants of Jacob. Perhaps this tendency is inherited, like many mental and physical ailments. If so, those of us who struggle with complaining, we could say, well, it's not really my fault. It's in my genes. It's my parents' fault. I got bad genes, and I'm just wired that way. It's the sins of the fathers, passing on from the children to the next generation. And then maybe God will cut us some slack and say, well, you got bad genes. You don't have to be so positive. Except I couldn't find any scientific evidence that says it's an inherited condition. It says, in fact, it's more likely learned from your home of origin or your culture. So I thought about, I'm trying to weasel out of this, right? I thought about my parents. They probably taught me this. But no, both my parents are very positive people. They weren't complainers or grumblers. So I have no excuse. So if it's learned, it's a bad habit. The good news is anything learned can be unlearned. So I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill. I mean, there are worse flaws we might have, but is it a big deal to God in the New Testament? We see it's a big deal here in this story. So I just flipped to the back of my Bible instead of the front. Right at the end, Jude 1:16. He's talking about false teachers in the end times, which is the time period we live in. And it says in verse 16, these people are grumblers and complainers, living only to satisfy their desires. They brag loudly about themselves and flatter others to get what they want. Sounds like kind of the cultural environment we live in today. So I flip back a bit to 2 Timothy 3:1-5, and it says, in the last days, people will be boastful and proud, scoffing at God, and ungrateful. So, and I checked my concordance. I'm hoping I won't find too many references to this mindset. And then I say, well, it's not a big deal to God anymore in the New Testament. I was just back then with the Israelites. But it's disappointing to discover 19 verses that come from the root word grumble, another 11 verses that have the word complain, and I didn't look up murmuring or whatever, 30 verses. That's a little hard to weasel out of or ignore. So I began to wonder, I wonder why God finds this habit so irritating, even infuriating to him. And a couple of possible answers. First one was, perhaps it shows my lack of contentment. Grumbling says I'm not content. It shows an absence of gratitude and a deficiency in praising God as I go through my day. So he asked me, you, to praise him and thank him. But instead, I complain. I'm doing just the opposite. So does God need my praise? Does he need your praise? Is he insecure? Does he need you to say, oh, you're awesome. Oh, phew, I feel better now. God doesn't need your praise. So it must be just for my sake, my well-being, he says, would you praise me? Because he wants us to be happy, filled with peace and joy, enjoy the ride through life, and to worship and praise the awesome God who walks with us through this confusing wilderness. Now, if that's true, then what I'm doing is shooting myself in the foot when I complain. I'm robbing myself of that feel-good endorphin, dopamine, a chemical that makes us happy. I'm using that up because I'm not accentuating the blessings in my life. So perhaps that's why God gets upset, because he wants me to be happy, but instead I'm messing it up. And then secondly, I think it shows that God takes our complaining personally. He takes it to heart. As we know, he's consistently just, holy, good in a world that often is not. Is he affronted? Is he insulted when I grumble? My grumbling seems to imply that I'm saying, God, you're not really enough. You're not dealing fairly with me. You're not being kind to me, or you're being unreasonable with me or you. When I think of it that way, I feel badly. I don't intend to demean your character, God. I just want the freedom to be able to speak my mind or comment on the negatives, the troubles in my little world, and call a spade a spade. So when you go out there to the parking lot, you have a flat tire, it's not realistic or healthy even to say, oh, wonderful, I have a flat tire. You are going to complain. Who wants to change a tire, right? That's all I'm asking. I just want to be able to say what I think. But it reminded me of, I think I told you this story, one of our boys, when he was 10 or 11, he was grumbling, complaining all the time, and then a new game system came out, and he said, I want this game system. And so he said, well, here's the deal. We'll make you an offer too good for you to turn down. You get 100 days of no complaints. We buy the system, however long it takes for you to wrap up the 100 days. At the end of the day, mom or dad will initial the box and say, you got 1 day toward the game system. And if you mess up, well, too bad. We'll try again tomorrow. But you know the little manipulator, what he said? He said, what? Is this communism? You can't speak my mind here in this family. I can't say anything negative all day. So we came up with an operational definition. And we said, you can make a negative point about something you don't like. You can say it once. But if you make the same point repeatedly, if you repeat yourself, then that's complaining. And you'll have to shoot for another chance tomorrow. So anyway, I think that's a good operational definition for us. To say you can call a spade, but then shut up about it and move on, right? But don't ruin the whole day by repeating it over and over. So the second point I wanted to ask or raise is, why do I want to slip you in here, we, us, complain so much? But I can only speak for myself. So if you want to change your behavior, first thing you have to understand is where the pattern started, why it continues without blaming others for your own bad habits. So I think, well, I like to look around, blame my society. Social influences, all the whiners out there. Well, my father taught me the importance of choosing friends wisely. He said things like birds of a feather flock together. If you run with the wolves, you'll haul with the wolves, and stuff like that. And like a contagious bug, the unhealthy habits and behaviors of others do rub off on us. Perhaps you have a family, friend, member of your family who focuses on the cup half empty and comments on every little negative thing. Or if you work in a negative environment full of whiners and complainers, don't be surprised if you pick up the virus and bring it home, and there's more ingratitude and fussing and fuming. We live where there are so many who feel entitled and act entitled. Think about it. Entitlement does not generate thankful, appreciative behavior, not towards others or towards God. The Israelites felt that since they were chosen of God, God owed them something for dragging them out of Egypt to the desolate wilderness. But truth be known, God owes nobody nothing, never. Bad grammar. And we owe him everything, starting with our thanks. So at the end of Timothy, he lists shortcomings which are prevalent in the last days that we live in. In verse 5, he says, stay away from people like that. So earlier he said, people who go grumble and complain. So in other words, I need to exposure and frequency of contact with chronic whiners in life. Cut the phone call short if that's all they're doing. Leave the room. Don't be a willing, complacent listener lest you pick up their attitude. And yes, there are those who need a shoulder to cry on, and there's a place for compassionate empathy. But I'm talking this morning about those people who just complain for the sake of complaining. Stay away from them. The second one that came to mind, and I think it's probably where I learned it, when I studied psychology in the early 70s, the prevalent teaching was to throw aside restraint when you're angry and frustrated. Let it out. Don't be a walking pressure cooker, a walking time bomb. Get it off your chest right away, and you'll feel better. It doesn't matter what other people think, because your feelings are more important. And you should be looking out for yourself. Number one, be authentic, be transparent, be spontaneous, don't hold back. And back then, the experts had a therapy that they called primal scream therapy. That's where you make an appointment, go in, there's a padded room, soundproof, you go in and then you just scream and swear and punch the wall and kick and have an adult temper tantrum until you're so exhausted, you just feel drained. You know what? That does give temporary release, but the tension soon returned. And then these clients were none the better off. They had to come back to the room and do it again. I haven't heard of that treatment being used anymore for an obvious reason, because it didn't work. However, from the 70s, that mindset, that constant venting and diffusing anger through your day remains a popular and unquestioned practice 50 years later. The false teaching has helped make us a generation of people who are not unlike the ones Moses led. The third reason I think this really gets under God's skin is, and why I probably do it, is it upsets God, but for me, it gives temporary relief. There are some temporary benefits, of course, to complaining. That let it all hang out psychology is cathartic in the moment. And I do feel a little bit better, having had my say somewhat vindicated by telling off the irritations all around me. You can do this to me, but at least I'm going to have the last word and, spout off and say, there, I feel better. But those who have to listen to me feel worse. Complaining has a negative impact on those around you, whether it's in the workplace or in your home. You feel better, and those you care about feel worse. Also, complaining feels good if others validate our disappointments or give some kind of version of, oh, poor you. Oh, isn't it terrible? Oh, that's so hard. Ooh, yeah, I like that. I like that. What's that all about? We want the comfort of knowing others have shared our pain and the reassurance that we're not going through a hard time alone, which raises the question, is my complaining a manipulative ploy to get sympathy from others? Well, I really don't like that question too much, so we're going to move on. The last heading, how to reduce habitual complaining in my life, my plan. All right, I've started it already this morning. I admit your own problem. It's my problem. I wanted to pass it on to my DNA or my parents or my society, but it's my problem. Not just to God, because he already knows, but admit it to a close friend. Confession of sin is the first way to healing, according to James 5, and you know that verse. Confess your faults one to another, that you may be healed. When you tell another person you're changing direction, he or she can give you feedback, encouragement, or sometimes accountability. Some of you may have done this already, but a secret New Year's resolution is totally worthless. If it's a secret, then you can change it, cancel it anytime you want, or straddle back and forth. You're not going to change the habit unless you tell somebody who's going to keep an eye on you. The second thing is start your day with God. Take a few moments to read his word and pray. And maintaining the routine is more important than how long you do it or what format you use or the time of day. If you're not a morning person, do it over your midday lunch. Do it in the evening. It's a nice way to round the day off, but do it once a day. Start your day with God. Third, make a point of regularly counting your blessings. This takes effort, whereas complaining is automatic. It doesn't take any effort at all. It's our default setting. Try counting the 50 blessings you're thankful for as you fall asleep while driving or sitting in the doctor's office. Oh, actually, I did that today. The policeman followed me all the way from our place to pretty near to the church. And I said, well, thank God for policemen who are patrolling our roads when the roads are unsafe, and they're doing their job. But that's not my first reflex, right? But in every situation, there's something we can be thankful about. Hang around positive people and mimic their attitudes. Remember the famous preacher's response when he was robbed? I don't know who it was now. Maybe you know. But rather than lament and complain, his reaction went something like this: I thank God This is the first time in my life I've been robbed. I'm thankful, although he took my wallet, he didn't take my life. And I'm thankful that this time around I didn't have much money in my wallet. And I'm thankful that I'm the one who got robbed and didn't do the robbing, not me. And we can learn a lot from people like that who make lemonade from lemons. This week I tried it. I thought about my health. I thank God that although I've had 20 years now this year with heart disease, I've never had a heart attack. I am thankful for my stable angina. That's the lake you get. It's like a rev limiter that says, okay, you're getting into the yellow zone, ease up. It's very handy. And I'm thankful for early detection and for the medical service that intercepted it that we enjoy in Canada. Which leads me to my next point. Actively look for the silver lining in the clouds of life. Ask yourself, how's God going to work good out of this latest annoyance, as he's promised to do? Now, if you don't get an immediate answer, don't get hung up. Assume that that's going to happen by faith eventually and move on. And finally, be patient with your progress when it's slow, because old habits die slowly and new ones take time to replace them. And that's the key there. It's not just stop complaining, it's replace it with something that's the opposite. Gratitude, contentment. There are some passages where Paul the Apostle in this book does go on at length, and he does whine, about all the troubles he's been through and how awful it was, and he sucks his thumb for a bit. But then it's in the later epistles that he writes, I have learned the secret of contentment. That was a journey. He was whining back here in Corinthians, but by the time he gets to Philippians, he says, I've learned to be content. May God bless your efforts if you join me in the pursuit of greater contentment. Well, in my home growing up, I listened to my dad play the piano at night. He had 3 favorite songs. 2 of them were, I want to just mention, Count Your Many Blessings. And the other one was the Grumbler's song. Have you heard that one? I'm not singing it. Okay, relax. Well, it's fairly simple. In country, town, or city, some people can be found who spend their lives in grumbling at everything around. Well, yes, they always grumble, no matter what we say, for they are chronic grumblers and they grumble night and day. Oh, they grumble on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, grumble on Thursday too, grumble on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, grumble the whole week through. They grumble in the city, they grumble on the farm, they grumble at their neighbors, they think it's no harm. They grumble at their husbands, they grumble at their wives, they grumble at their children, but the grumbler never thrives. They grumble when it's raining, they grumble when it's dry, and if the crops are failing, they grumble and they sigh. They grumble at low prices and grumble when they're high. They grumble all the year round, and they grumble till they die. They grumble at the preacher, they grumble at his prayer, they grumble at his preaching, they grumble everywhere. They grumble at God's people and say, 'tis all display. But the holy folks don't grumble. They only have time to pray. They stay away from the meetings at church because it's hot or cold, or else it looks like raining, a headache, or a cold. And when the offering's taken, they're sure to pout or sigh, and they say, they feel so sorry. Always money is the cry. If you don't quit your grumbling and stop it now and there, you'll never get to heaven. No grumblers are there. Repent and be converted, be saved from all your sin. You know that grumbling Christians find it hard a crown to win. Yeah, well, that was written about 100 years ago. People have not changed. So, yeah, that was funny. Don sent me a thing, said, I'm looking forward to your sermon or whatever. I said, I'm not looking forward to it because I don't like preaching at myself. But if the shoe fits, wear it. Okay, the worship team is going to bring us one closing song.